Hello, everyone, and welcome to Zed Talks. My name is Zed Baig. My background is in physical therapy and rehabilitation, exercise science, human movement, and wellness. Over the years, working with people dealing with pain, injuries, balance problems, mobility, limitations, and different healing conditions, I've become increasingly interested in something much bigger than just muscles and joints. How much does what's happening in our mind, our body, and our environment affect the way we actually feel and function? That's what I want to talk about today. Because when we talk about stress and anxiety, we often separate mental health from physical health. But the human body doesn't really work that way. There's actually a framework in healthcare that I really like for understanding this. It's called the biopsychosocial model. So, in the past, traditionally, in medical schools and other healthcare educational programs, they focus more on the biological component. But now in school, they've adopted and implemented more so the biopsychosocial model. Simply put, bio, the body, psycho, the mind, social, the world, and people around us. And rather than looking at health through only one of these lenses, we start looking at the whole person. So let's start with bio. What's happening in the body? Let's start with biology. Stress and anxiety aren't simply thoughts. There are real physiological processes occurring in the body. Your nervous system responds, your heart rate can change, your breathing can change, your muscles may tense, your sleep can become disrupted, you may notice headaches, fatigue, stomach symptoms, sweating, trembling, or changes in energy. Our bodies are designed to have a different response. If something dangerous happens, that response can help us react. But modern life can repeatedly activate that system, even when we're not physically running from danger. For example, work, finances, health concerns, family responsibilities, receiving constant notifications, poor sleep, pain, and the pressure on meeting certain deadlines. Sometimes we're sitting completely still while internally our body is preparing for action. And here's where my background in movement and exercise becomes particularly relevant. Movement gives the body somewhere to put some of that energy. For example, walking. Many benefits from just simply walking. Strength training, cycling, swimming, playing sports, doing mobility type of exercises, even simply getting outside and moving. Exercise isn't a cure-all for anxiety, but research continues to show that physical activity can be a valuable component for managing anxiety, symptoms, and supporting mental health. And movement doesn't need to be extreme. Sometimes one of the healthiest things you can do is simply get up and walk. Now for the second part, psycho. What's happening in the mind? Then we have the psychological side. Our thoughts affect our bodies, and our bodies affect our thoughts. Think about someone experiencing a racing heartbeat. They feel the heartbeat. Then they think, something must be wrong. That thought creates more anxiety. The anxiety increases physiological arousal and symptoms. Now the heartbeat feels even stronger. The physical sensation and psychological response can start reinforcing each other. Pain can work similarly. Stress can influence how we perceive pain. Pain can increase worry. Worry can affect sleep. Poor sleep can influence recovery, mood, and pain. That's why simply telling somebody to stop worrying isn't particularly useful. Instead, we need practical strategies. For example, some may be breathing exercises, mindfulness, adopting better sleep habits, movement, spending time outdoors, indulging in hobbies that you enjoy. Prayer. Prayer is a big one in terms of trying to get peace and help with stress management. So prayer or meditation for those who practice them. Journaling, writing down your thoughts, that helps. Reducing unnecessary stimulation. So one way I would kind of summarize that is think of your time as sacred, and you want to protect your time and not just have your time given to anyone and everyone, especially for people that and places that do not no longer serve your purpose, and if anything may be draining you. So spend time around people in places where you feel you can be yourself and you're growing. But if you're around people or places where you feel that it's toxic and there's negative energy and it's affecting your mood, the best thing may be to just avoid those people and possibly limit it or compartmentalize. So protecting your peace, that's a big one. Something I'm learning more about myself, knowing how my personality is, and I'm taking that advice for myself and still learning how to better follow that. So that was just further elaborating a little bit more on that aspect of it. Others are spending less time constantly scrolling. I'm also guilty of this, and I think that is very common. I believe social media, a lot of times people look at it, they see other people's lives, they sometimes consciously or subconsciously start comparing their lives, and that indirectly could start causing anxiety, depression, and I think that has a trickle-down effect. So just being aware of those feelings is good as a first start, and utilizing social media more so on the positive aspects and benefits of it, as opposed to some of that negative aspects, as I just shared. One is just being able to stay in touch with people, getting education, spreading the word, or getting information out to the people. And the other is, in general, to help with this in social media, is being grateful for what you have, and to only compete with yourself, trying to strive to better yourself each day, and know that everyone has their own time and own pace, and to just be confident and trust in the process. If you're a religious, spiritual person, I think that really helps with trusting the process, trusting God or higher being, and that your time will come, and that to be helpful to others and not to kind of feel any envy and joy. I know these feelings are normal, but try your best to be aware of it and wish best on others, and just focus on yourself. I think that goes a long ways. Again, just further elaborating on that specifically. Another is sometimes simply allowing yourself to do something you genuinely enjoy. Self-care. Self-care doesn't have to mean a spa day. Sometimes self-care is going fishing, playing golf, taking a walk, cooking, working out, reading, listening to music, sitting outside, or even just simply calling somebody. And simply giving yourself permission to slow down for a little while. And when anxiety becomes persistent, severe, or interferes significantly with daily life, working with a qualified mental health or medical professional can be an important part of that equation. Now, this brings us to the last part of the model, social. The part of health we sometimes forget. So the third piece, social health. Humans are social beings. Who you are around, do you feel connected? Do you have people who encourage you? Let's say, who are you around? Do you feel connected? Do you have people who encourage you? Do you feel accountable to anybody? Are you isolated? Are you part of something? Sometimes improving health isn't only about prescribing another exercise. Sometimes it's about creating connection and accountability. Maybe that's a walking group, a workout partner, family, friends, a faith community, a wellness group, a coach, or simply people who share similar goals. Research increasingly recognizes social connection and social support as important components of physical and psychological well-being. And I think healthcare and wellness sometimes underestimate this. What if wellness combined all three? This is where I've started thinking differently about what wellness could look like. Instead of, here's your exercise program, good luck, what if somebody had a community around them? What if you could track progress? What if someone checked in with you? What if you had coaching and guidance? What if you could see improvements in your movement, strength, activity, or recovery over time? And what if you could communicate with other people trying to accomplish similar things? That's part of the bigger idea I'm developing with BioFitCare. Not simply exercise, not simply recovery, and certainly not replacing medical health or mental health care. And also, this is not a physical therapy clinic. This is not a gym. This is BioFitCare. So instead, we're creating an environment centered around movement, performance, recovery, longevity, and overall wellness. But supported through a biopsychosocial approach. We have also the BioFitCare Wellness Community. Imagine joining a wellness membership where you're not simply paying for access to equipment, you're joining a wellness community. You establish goals. We establish a baseline. You track your progress. You receive movement and wellness guidance. You have periodic check-ins. You learn strategies around exercise, recovery, sleep, stress management, and healthy routines. And you have other people around you working towards improving their health too, and rooting you along the way. Believe it or not, I have patients who think they're old and they're in their 60s, 70s, and they see other clients who are 82, 84, 92, 99, and they see how active they are. So it is inspiring sometimes to be around that environment, seeing others and sharing your journey. There could even be an online BioFitCare community where members share progress, challenges, ideas, walks, workouts, recipes, or simply encourage one another. And then education becomes another piece. That's actually one reason I'm interested in doing Zed Talks. And why I came up with this last night, and I thought, instead of thinking about it, let's act on it. And the next day, here I am creating this video content. I want these conversations to continue beyond the walls of a clinic or wellness center. We can talk about movement, pain, stress, recovery, nutrition, balance, healthy aging, performance, mental wellness, chronic conditions, longevity, and bring in professionals from different fields to have conversations about how all these areas overlap, because health isn't one-dimensional. Remember that. Health isn't one-dimensional. A simple biopsychosocial reset. So when you're having a stressful week, instead of asking only, how do I get rid of this anxiety? Try asking yourself 3 questions. Bio. What does my body need right now? Maybe movement, a workout, better food, water, sleep, recovery, a walk outside, slow breathing. Second, psycho. What does my mind need? Maybe quiet, perspective, mindfulness, prayer, a hobby, professional support, less screen time, or simply time to decompress. And lastly, social. What do I need around me? Maybe your spouse, maybe your family, a friend, a coach, a workout partner, a community. Sometimes the answer isn't doing more. Sometimes it's simply not doing everything alone. Which brings me to the bigger picture. That's what I like about the biopsychosocial model. It reminds us that we're not just a knee. We're not just a back. We're not just an anxious thought. We're not just a diagnosis. We're people. Our biology matters. Our psychology matters. Our relationships and environment matters. Our movement matters. Our recovery matters. And all those things interact. That's the bigger philosophy I want to explore through BioFit Care and through these conversations on Zed Talks. Not perfection, not another quick fix. Building sustainable habits that help us 1. Move better, 2. Perform stronger, and 3. Live better. I'm Zed Baig, and this is Zed Talks, Episode 1. I'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, I'm locked in.